Hello everyone, I am Rajiv Chopra from the Dusty Mic Chronicles. I am basing this week's episode partially on a speech that Albert Camus delivered on the 14th of December 1957 at the University of Uppsala in Sweden. I confess, I had to use Google, or let's say Google came to my rescue when I decided I must learn to pronounce Albert Camus and Uppsala properly. The speech is deep and demands rereading. The speech is deep and demands a few readings. Of course, the last sentence also means that I will print the speech and make a few podcast episodes based on the speech. So, while I confess to planning to waste paper, I also believe that there is enough here that warrants the reprinting and highlighting different sections of the speech for different podcast episodes. Be warned, Albert Camus started by quoting an obscure Oriental man who prayed to God to spare him from the hell of living in interesting times. Now, all grammar checkers these days will slap you on the wrist if you use the word Oriental. When I was a kid, we associated the word Oriental with people who live in the Far East. Then I read Edward Said, who informed me that Westerners use the term Oriental to signify anyone living east of the Middle East. The term Middle East itself is stupid because what is the Middle East in the middle of? Think about it geographically and you will agree with me. The term Asian these days, people use the term Asian these days when they refer to a person who lives in the Far East, a person from China or Korea or Japan. But I live in India, I'm South Asian, and therefore I am Asian. Yet when people speak of Asians, for some reason they exclude people like me and specifically use the term South Asian to refer to us. So it's all very strange, huh? So let's return to the term Oriental. People today will tell you not to use the word and will also tell you not to use the word old man. At least when I write, and all these grammar checkers will slap me on the wrist and say, don't use the word Oriental, it's disrespectful, and don't use the word old man, it's disrespectful. Use the term older person. But, from the perspective of a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old person is older than he is or she is, and an 85-year-old person of the two is much older and therefore is old. So we sacrifice accuracy sometimes just to be politically correct. We live in a woke society, and the guardians of morality and correctness tell us what to say, to do, how to create, and how to act. They want us to fit into neat boxes, but the problem is that no one can agree on which boxes have the correct dimensions, material, color, etc. So nobody can agree on the box. Our woke society is only one constraint on artistic freedom or even business freedom, but let's ignore business freedom for the moment. The relentless rise of social media poses another barrier. Everyone loves looking at photos or reading articles and watching movies on their phones. The constantly evolving algorithms often force a creator to change their style, and social media experts always tell you to watch the latest trends. In fact, even a site like 500px for photographer is sent out a blog post or an article advising me to watch out for the latest trends. So yes, when you're marketing your photos for sales, fair enough. But if you're actually doing something creative, sometimes you need to buck the trend. You need to make your work visible. But a serious creator always seems to be fighting for a fit. A serious creator always seems to be fighting to find a way to stand out and to, let's say, free themselves from the ruthless grip of the algorithm. To add to the problem, especially if you're a landscape photographer, for instance, you won't find many photos for your on social media. The small size of the screen reduces the image to almost nothing. A week back, I pointed out or I showed my students a few frame prints on the wall, and I asked them how the images would look on social media. Without exception, they agreed that the images would die on social media. So social media has democratized sharing and dissemination of information, no doubt about that, and it's good. But on sites like Instagram, it also means that you have to fit into the physical dimensions that Instagram demands. It also means that you are competing with bimbos and you are competing with people who seem to be perpetually happy, carefree, living this joyous life and having a ball, let's say. So the challenges that besiege anyone to create something which is unique, something which helps them stand out, some unique art, something that actually expresses themselves, are becoming huge. Unique art, or let's say your voice, often gets buried under a deluge or a flood of awful superficial noise. So let's talk about specific examples. I used to be a great fan of Jethro Tull. They were at their peak in the 1970s, and then around 1980, they released an album called A. Something changed with the release of this album A. I felt that ever since they published that album, they moved from their original voice, which was raw, passionate, where they had something to say there, but they moved from that to a group that tried to be too clever. And for me, personally, while the music may have become far more sophisticated technically, I felt that they had lost their voice. Pink Floyd's music stayed true to its roots until the end. Roger Waters broke away and today create works that makes a statement. In doing so, even now, at the age of 80, he remains relevant. People love him, they hate him. Some hate him, especially Israelis. They absolutely hate the man, but many absolutely adore him. And he is creating art that says something that is close to his soul, his spirit. And to stay relevant and create great art until you're 80 is, honestly, it's something which we must admire. Whether you like him, whether you hate him, doesn't matter. So social media can help you. Social media can constrain you. It's up to you as an artist to decide what you want to do. Whether you want to bow to the dictates of the billionaires who control social media, or whether you want to buck the trend and say, take a hike, man. I will do what I want. So get out, move on, find yourself, find your voice. And as I now end this episode, I realize also, rather late in the day, that I have not yet fully addressed or spoken of many of the issues that Albert Camus raised during his speech. So there is scope for another podcast episode or two. Stay with me and have fun. Enjoy yourself and send in a comment. Share your comments, share your thoughts, share the podcast, subscribe to it, and see you next time. Ciao. Or should I say, in the Chinese, 再见.